has 2019 been treating you so far? Good? Not too good some way? Don't worry, it's still early days yet, and the best is yet to come. Good times are yet to come, you know. And if it started well for you, keep up the fire, keep burning, keep moving, keep pushing. Remember, 2019, our theme is a woman of power. You've got power, so please don't give up yet. Don't give up. It's still a long journey ahead of you. Well, welcome to The Standpoint. Today we have quite a story to tell you. Quite a story to tell you. Sometimes when you sit behind and you see certain people, because of their profession, because of their portfolio, because of who you think they are, you think they have things easy. But if you know people's stories before they got to their point of glory, well, today I do have a program for you. Abuse, child abuse, a survivor story. My guest, a bit surprising and shocking, but you will know, understand that we don't have to joke when it comes to child abuse. And we have to pick up the signals as early as possible. My name remains Gifty Auntie. What I do is to advocate, to provide a platform to say things as they are and to make noise so that who has the ears will listen. I believe that we have to take the power into our own hands and do something about this canker that is eating and destroying our society. Let me say thank you to GTP for my cloth. This is GTP Adipa Dumas. Yes, it's still raining. Go out there and get yours. I mean, hey, my birthday is 23rd January. It's coming very soon. If you think about it, you can get me Adipa Dumas. I'll say thank you. You can get me beats. I'll say thank you. Anything you get me, I'll say thank you. You can pray for me. That's the most important thing. Pray for me and I will just love you forever. GTP gave me my cloth. My dress was made for me by Ophelia Crossland Designs. Beats by Sun Beats and more. I just love them. Makeup product by Paba Cosmetics. I don't have anywhere to go. They are the best. Who else do I go to? They still give me the makeup products. Applied by Makeup and more. My hair is by Inshilo. We take a break. When we come back, we meet a strong woman, an advocate, a woman of power who has survived child abuse. We'll be back.
I'm a beneficiary of the Girl in Need Foundation. Some time ago, there was no hope for me to go to school, but through the Girl in Need Foundation, I was able to complete my secondary education.
I quite remember when we completed JHS, things became very, very tough. But with the help of God and the help of this foundation, which is the Girl in Need Child Foundation, now we are who we are today.
And this foundation has really helped me.
So I'm pleading with you that you help with any amount you have.
Please give something out. Donate at least 1 cedi for a girl. Will change one's life.
Remember, your 1 cedi can touch a life out there, can make impact in the life of somebody.
To The Standpoint. I told you it's early days yet, so we are still talking about issues. We are going to the grassroots and looking at very sensitive topics, things that we need to get out of the way to prepare us. I've told you 2019, The Standpoint, our theme is a woman of power, and we are moving with all the power that we need, definitely from God. And my guest today is Dr. Amachiwa Edwin. She's a physician, clinical psychologist, and bioethicist. So, Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, Gifty.
How has 2019 started for you?
Well, it's great, by God's grace. New year. new expectations,
Yeah.
and we trust in God to see us through. For me personally, the theme empowering women, I see that in line with my church's theme, which is wisdom.
Yeah.
And we need the wisdom of God to be able to be empowered and to deal with issues that would rather have buried. So you are on course.
What do you think is a woman of power? Because our theme is woman of power.
A woman of power is a woman who knows who she is. She knows when to wield her power, and she knows when to lay that power aside for the greater good of others. She's a woman who doesn't allow others to walk over her. She may cry, but she will still speak her mind. She may be emotional, but she will still speak to the issues that need to be dealt with. A woman of power is a woman whose voice is heard, not literally, but also in other ways. Not everybody is able to talk about issues, but others get their voice heard in other ways. And you can't be a woman of power without bringing certain issues to the fore. And that's what I hope we all will be. Sometimes we think that we wonder what others will say when we assert ourselves, when we say we're a woman of power. People have all sorts of negative connotations about that, but no, it's not. It's a very needed position, and you need to be empowered to deal with issues in this world.
And talking about worrying about what people will say, especially we women, there's certain decisions we take and actions, and we are worried about what our spouses will think, will say, what our in-laws, what our children, what our friends, and all these things go into, we deciding or taking a decision. Are you worried about what people will think concerning what we are about to talk about today?
When I was coming in, I realized part of me was happy that it will show when my older son is in boarding school, meaning he won't be able to listen to it. And I'm like, why? He should know. So why was I happy that he won't be watching it because he's in boarding school? So for me, I can take what others do, but I don't... it's not an easy topic, but I also know that it's an empowering topic. Years ago, I listened to Joyce Meyer, and I was actually passing, and the TV was on in my sister's house, and she said something, and I knew it was straight from God's lips to my ears. He said, don't be ashamed because of what happened to you. It is not your fault, and the way to deal with it is to talk about it. It's taken me how many years since I heard that to be able to address it. So yes, for me, it's not about what people say, but I wasn't sure whether I had even dealt with it, and I didn't want to talk about it and end up crying. But that's my mentor, Dr. Sifadede says. She says, you cry about so many things. Watching TV, so it's okay to cry about it. It means that it hurt you, but it also means that you are released enough to be able to talk about it. So it's okay.
In my intro, I talked about the fact that sometimes people see us and they think we just got here.
Yeah.
Easy ride.
Yeah.
Power, force, coming, everything. Nobody can touch it. This, that.
I have no idea.
But you were sexually abused.
Yes, I was.
As a child.
How
old were you?
It was 74, 75, so 6, 7 years.
6, 7 years.
It started when I was about 6 years.
It started, so that means it went on for a while.
Well, at least for about a period of maybe 2 years, not more, because of the neighborhood. It stopped as when we left.
What happened?
Well, this was a neighbor, a trusted neighbor, and he had a facility that was very attractive to children, so we all used to go and play. And somehow, anytime we went there, this thing about Nana Madioye Mayuri, I mean, that's how it started. And he was trusted. If there was nobody at home, my mom would say you should go there, because he had a facility that means that there were always people there. He was my dad's friend, his wife was my mom's very good friend, his son was my younger brother's best friend. So this was not a stranger. He was a trusted person. But it started, it's like anytime you go, sometimes even in public, there's a party. He always used to have parties, and it's like, oh, but it's not me nice, so I mean, and then it's like, go also radio be and himself papa wasem, you know. So it started with him using his fingers. And then it progressed, but yeah, it progressed from he using his fingers to sexually. Where am I? Fingers to sexual abuse. Yeah. See how tough it is talk about. Yeah.
Till he started using his penis to penetrate you.
Yes. Yeah.
And you couldn't tell anybody about it.
I couldn't. He told me in his words, so catch her, oh my man, oh papa, when him say me any one Jane did that, or because I want our yabo fraboni. And I believed him. I didn't, I
were young.
Yes. And I dealt with it by blocking it out until 2002. We're having a train. You know, I've always been an advocate on child abuse, and now it makes sense to me why I've always been passionate, even when it was not in my awareness. But we were being trained because we were dealing with abused children, and part of the training was to ask ourselves why we're so passionate about that. And that's when I remembered. But at that time, all I remembered were the fingers. But even then, I was so livid. I was angry, but I told myself, look, I'm grown, I'm a doctor, I'm a psychologist, I help children. I don't want to waste brain power on dealing with this. So you moved on until sometime, I think 2009 or 2010, thereabout. I came home and my mom said, oh, Nana, Mr. So and so is dead. And the thing that came out of my mouth was, thank God he was a terrible man. And I went to my bedroom and closed my door, which anybody who knows me, I don't do. It's like unusual. So again, I didn't talk about it until months later when I told my mom, because my brother was there and they were all like, it's so like, like someone is dead, someone you know, and you said, thank God he was a terrible man. So about a couple of months later, I told my mom, my mother-in-law, they were talking generally, and I said, okay, you know, this is what happened. And what my mom said is what even made it worse, because he was like, oh, you should have told me, because his wife caught him in bed with one of his children. The only thing was, but then my mom added that
believed you.
She would have believed me.
Yeah.
You know. And then we talked about abuse in general, and then I thought I had dealt with it. Carry forward 2015.
No, hold on. Let's not carry it forward. You said you blocked it.
I blocked it.
How were you able to block it? Because as a child, how were you able to block it?
So, as a child, yes, I'm not sure the blocking was active, but as I grew, somehow it just went away until, as I said, 2002. I remember because that's when I was expecting my first son, that we were doing this preparatory training where you are to ask yourself, why are you so passionate about child sexual abuse? Why does it make you so angry? Is there anybody you know? And it was like a picture. I just literally saw myself sitting on his lap and he using his fingers. That was all I remembered at that time. So that for me was the block. But even though that was bad, for me it was okay at all. I told myself he didn't penetrate. I said fast forward 2015 because that's when it broke into my awareness, and it did in a strange way. We were actually on a trip to Hohoi, and I was with a very good friend. And I thought that I knew that he was related to the man's wife. So I was talking about one of his cousins and how my mom's very good friend. And then he said, oh, enye obiano nana me relate, a very manumum and Gifty. I don't know. I just charged. I started hitting him. I mean, so he just breathed. It's like, Amma, what's going on? Because he's known me for years, and it's like, and this was, well, not very public, but I was with another lady who was wondering what's going on, and then I told him, and he also says, hey, intin sema na yete fa papa yi hono ne yampa. So then I'm like, all these adults knew this man was abusing. What did they? I mean, he wasn't an adult at that time, but my point was, it wasn't a secret. But nobody did anything about that. So it was in therapy, it was in working it out that I had to deal with it. And there was this book that Dr. Sifadide, she's always been a mentor from, I've known her from when I was in lower 6 to 86, and we were using it as by the Art of Listening Prayer, but it's by Rusty Rustenberg, and it helps you deal with issues in your life. And part of what you're supposed to do is a very painful part, situate Jesus, because it's within a Christian setting. Situate Jesus in your situation and find out, was he there? And if he was there, why did he allow it? And that for me was...
Did you ask yourself that question?
It took me months, but I did.
So Jesus loved the little children.
Exactly. So
all as a little child, why did he watch on?
Why did he watch on? And then so in letting him help me heal, I had to deal with issues. And that is when I literally remembered. And I remember one day in particular, so I saw myself naked with a man naked in a room and then crouched in the corner. And then suddenly I remembered that, yes, I did have a very bad infection when at times they used to call it Odepua.
Odepua, yes, yes.
And suddenly I remembered, and I was like, oh my God, this was worse than I thought, you know. But for me, I really didn't get an answer, and I think, but what I did know was that he cared. He was there. He was not unaware of it. For reasons that I'll never know. He allowed it to happen, or he didn't intervene. But it's not because he's not good, but it's because there's evil in the world and men choose to do these things.
Were you angry at your mother for not saying anything when she got to know that?
I was angry because I was like, I remember saying to her, so, that when she told me that the man's wife had caught him in bed with his own daughter, you know, but I'm sure probably the timelines and everything. And as I said, they were very good. I mean, I also remember that, but for him, my mom would be dead. They were working in the neighborhood. A snake bit my mom, and this man took her. My dad was not around, put her in the car center. So he wasn't a bad man. He wasn't a bad man.
In the public eye?
Well, even to my family, because I saw him save my mom's life too.
Right.
But he did some terrible things. Maybe he had his own demons, and
you still find difficult painting him as a terrible guy?
No. I agree that he did terrible things. I do get that.
But you refuse to portray him as a terrible man.
I'm not sure, because as I said, I was also a child, but I also saw, if he hadn't been around, if he hadn't taken my mom to the hospital at that time, who knows? Maybe I wouldn't still have my mom around. But it doesn't, I think that sometimes it's easy to condemn people when we say he's a bad person, and then we think that is all. But the reason why it's difficult, especially for children, is you see that this person is kind to you, this person is nice to you, this person does things that you like. So how do you reconcile the two? And that can become a problem. I mean, for people who are abused by their fathers, your father loves you, he's paying your fees, he's doing all these, but he's abusing you too. Yeah. It's not easy to reconcile, you know. So, but even that, after I came in awareness, you would think that being a therapist and having a great one myself who was willing to, it got to a time it was so painful. I stopped therapy. I didn't want to.
Did it contribute to your going into a state of depression some years back?
It could be. The reason why I'm saying this could be is earlier this year, I was doing a training. It's more like a CPD for other doctors.
In 2018?
In 2018. You see, now we are in 2018. Yes, I was doing a training, and this was a group of doctors. The topic was psychological trauma in childhood, and we're discussing a study on adverse childhood events and abuse. And in the middle of the presentation, I got so emotional. So I'm like, what am I going to? So I said, okay, these are frontline people. I want them to be able to recognize abuse at any time. So I disclosed. I hadn't planned to, but I was literally breaking down. So I told them that, look, this happened to me. I mean, I turned 50 last year, and we're talking about things that happened over 44 years ago. And I'm speaking on a topic, and it's still hurt, because I could see all of the fallout, the depression, all the various issues that come up were there, you know. So what I used it is, when they see a child and they pick up on signs of abuse, because they are frontline doctors, primary care physicians, they should do all they can to help that child and their father.
So that thing where people say, especially people who are supposed to help the child deal with the abuse, you know, now we are talking about the survivor here or the victim here, who say that, oh, Oyakola, she's a child, she will grow, I mean, she will overcome it. No. It's okay, let it go. You grow, I mean, you get over it.
You see, there's so many falls out. It's not good. It's not good for the child. It's not good for you, the family. But I can understand. I think sometimes it's tough for the parents to deal with it. There was a young woman I knew whose child was abused by someone who was staying with them, and initially she started bringing the child, and after a while she stopped. I told her, look, if it's me you're not comfortable with because maybe you knew me before, get someone else. But get her. He said, oh, she'll forget. She didn't forget. Years later the child started acting out, and then I said, this is her, but she's still young enough to get help. There are people who end up on the street selling their bodies, not because they want to, but they've been taken advantage so of. It's like, if I can make yourself, so your boundaries are broken. You can associate any man who shows interest to you as being sexually interested, and it can even get to a point where you have a friend or someone who is kind to you. The person is not showing sexual interest in you. You might begin to wonder whether he really likes you, because in your mind, this person did this and always said, I'm doing it because I like you, I love you. So in your mind, you think that the way a man shows love to a child is by doing these sexual things. And if you don't get help and you redefine your boundaries, it can actually affect you. Sexualize your behavior, you won't value yourself, you tolerate anything because you don't think you are worth anything. And when the adults around you don't believe you, that can be the most painful. It's bad enough that you won't tell them because you've been told that if you tell them maybe A, B, C, or D will happen, all sorts of things, they won't believe you. Your mother will die, your father will die, I'll kill you, I'll do all. They are threatened, so they keep quiet. But unfortunately, sometimes when they disclose, the adults don't believe, especially when it's close. Sometimes it's family members. For me, it was a neighbor. Yeah. But for other people, it's family members, fathers, brothers, uncles, and you want to handle everything in
But from the way you talk about this neighbor, it was like he was like a family.
Yeah, he was that close. He was. As I said, he was my dad's friend, and his wife was my mom's friend. The children, the house was just across the street from ours.
Did you still see some of his children?
No, in fact, I met one of them on Facebook. It had been years because we moved away from that town, but no.
Let me take a break. When we come back, we'll continue, because one would say that you're a clinical psychologist. You know, you've been through school, you went through, the training and everything. You're helping others. So why couldn't you just deal with yourself? DIY. We learned that here. DIY. Do it yourself. Let me take a break. You're watching The Standpoint. This program is also aired on ABN TV on Sky Channel 195 across Western Europe, part of Canada and Asia. We are also on Virgin TV's channel 842 in United Kingdom. Our website, www.thestandpoint.com.gh, is powered by Dream Oval. Like our Facebook page, The Standpoint. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is also very, very active. And then, of course, if you want to sponsor this program, advertise or support us in any way, you can call us on 020-886-1919 or 0544-844-122. We are supported by House of Foods, Cake Technique, Yep Cleaning Services, Gogot Yogurt, Casapreco Royal Drinks, and Awake Purified Mineral Water. They have been supportive over the years and they're still supporting us. But we need sponsorship. So please sponsor us. We'll be back.
Water gives life. Water is life. Enjoy the pure, refreshing taste of Awake Purified Drinking Water, which comes in a uniquely designed bottle with a lemon green tap. Water is your perfect way to stay hydrated. And remember, for every bottle you buy, an amount will be donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center, Ghana. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life.
For bulk purchase, contact 0262 351 251.
I'm a beneficiary of the Girl in Need Foundation. Some time ago, there was no hope for me to go to school, but through the Girl in Need Foundation, I was able to complete my secondary education.
I quite remember when we completed JHS, things became very, very tough. But with the help of God and the help of this foundation, which is the Girl in Need Child Foundation, now we are who we are today.
And this foundation has really helped me.
So I'm pleading with you that you help with any amount you have.
Please give something out. Donate at least 1 cedi for a girl. Will change one's life.
Remember, your 1 cedi can touch a life out there, can make impact in the life of somebody.
Welcome back to The Standpoint. You're watching The Standpoint on Joy Prime. Our website, www.thestandpoint.com.gh, is powered by Dream Oval, and we are talking about child abuse. Child abuse, and how we tend to take it for granted sometimes and refuse to pick up the early signs, the early signs. And I say thank you again to GTP for my cloth. My dress was made for me by Ophelia Crossland Designs. My beads by Sun Beads and More, and hair by Insulo. Makeup products provided by Papa Cosmetics, and Makeup and More apply the makeup for us. Dr. Amma Edwin, you're a clinical psychologist.
I know. But you see,
you practice for how long before you actually, let's say, broke down to your own reality as a psychologist?
Okay, so I finished my clinical psychology training in 2001. But I remember I said in 2002 was when the first awareness. But that I could just push it away and tell myself he didn't penetrate, he just used his fingers, and I was angry, and that was it. I've told you, it's not easy to deal with it. It's not, because you feel so vulnerable. And a friend said something to me, Adolf, who were talking about child abuse, and he knows about this, and he said something. He said, Amma, you're not being fair to the little Amma. You are using your empowered self to judge the Amma, because I felt I could have done more. But he made me aware, because that also really helped, because he said you can't use
So
the
you had that self-guilt
that yes, why especially I wasn't once, you don't want to go, there's nobody, you go there, and
why did you keep going there? Why didn't you tell anybody, kind of thing?
Yes, and most of the times it's not like I ever went alone, but there was always something. Oh, Nanama Nanama, you know. Oh, and I know that there are men who feel that they can say this little girl is my wife. I hate it.
I hate it too.
And it is so wrong.
And it's actually you, without even telling me what you had been through. It was you who made me, even before I married, before I had a child of my own, to tell me that, Gifty, some of these things we must. I didn't know the story, but you always, I remember one of the early days when we had the program, and you talked about that parents must not allow that. How did your husband take it when you told him?
I think he was like, and you haven't told me all this time. I was like, it's not easy to talk about. I didn't even want to admit it to myself. He says that I have the ability to put things that I don't want to do with on the back burner and forget about it for years until it shows up in ways that I can't. So therefore him, he understands. So if he knows that there are certain things that cannot happen because of that, he does. Sometimes I try to tell myself that let me see, maybe I should be able to do it. But he says, no, don't force yourself to do something. And he's a surgeon, so he tell you that if you had surgery and as a result of the surgery that happened to you, you can't do certain things. You won't say, let me try it, even though you know that because of the surgery. So yes, it's an impact. It doesn't define you, but it may limit you in some ways.
You know, I asked about your husband because, you know, in cases of defilement, like sexual abuse and rape, families often say, oh, let's keep quiet over it. Let's handle it quietly because she's a girl. If people get to know, nobody will marry her. Nobody will marry her. It will become a stigma, which we, as a country, we are very good at stigmatizing people for things that is no fault of theirs, especially when it comes to women.
The person we should stigmatize is the perpetrator, and not the abuser. Not the victim or the survivor. So that's also one of the reasons why people want to keep it secret. But it doesn't help. So is it really about the person you care about? Has she even told you she wants to get married for starters? And if she does want to, and the man truly loves her,
how it's going to affect?
If a man loves her, he will support you through this time.
So you can imagine if you have to think about it happening to somebody, and then you same person telling the person that, oh, it's okay. No, let's cover it.
Please.
Let's keep quiet over it.
The sad thing is that in my experience, women have been the ones doing the covering more than the men. The men get angry. They want justice for their children. They want to pursue it. But the women think, oh, do you know what's going to be due to our family to be in the public? But it's the child who is suffering. Even if you don't want to pursue the legal thing, get help for the child.
What are the early signs that you can pick up as a parent?
So first of all, you have to let your child know what is private and what is not private, because for some children, they will tell you, they will come and say that this man touched me with this. The story I told you about the young lady who brought her daughter, they had gone out, they came home, and he said, this boy used a snake in his pants to bite me in my private part. She was 3 years. So this is the girl who is exceptional. For most people, they won't say it. You might see some discharge. You might see that if you are cleaning the girl, you might see that the girl becomes withdrawn, it becomes afraid or easily angry, irritable. Maybe someone that he seems to be close to now doesn't want to go close to the person at all, or can be the reverse. The person becomes so controlling, they want to be with the person all the time. Talk to them about what is going on in their life, because if you do, then they will talk to you. Otherwise, if it's not, then you get the effects later where it affects their school performance, it affects their sleep, it affects their eating, and when they become teenagers, teenage years has its own issues. But add that the effects of abuse, you cannot control them, then you find some of them being promiscuous.
But
Because
the time sometimes it starts earlier when they can't talk.
yes, I as a doctor, I remember when I was doing my house job in 95, 2 babies, 1 2 months, 1 9 months. They had been abused. Sexual abuse, yes. 1995, Kolibu, yes. I was doing my house job. I couldn't believe it. I knew about abuse, I knew about it, but 2-month-old, the first one we saw was the 9-month-old. And I was like, God, this is terrible. And then a few weeks later,
They brought a 2 months?
they brought a 2-month-old. So it can happen early. Those ones we got to know that some people believe that if you had HIV and you slept with a virgin, you would get, and the best, at least with babies, you are sure. So the person who did that, for the people who did that, were doing it, but it's still wrong. So it happens early, months, years. There's no age limit, but once it happens, and if you are a victim, I'm so glad there are young girls and boys here. And these days, it's not just girls who are being abused. The boys are not also spared. The boys are also being abused. Never keep it a secret. The person can be the one looking after you in school. The person can be your father. The person can be your mother, your aunt, your teacher. You do not ever keep abuse secret. It's not just penetration, inappropriate touch. No grown-up has a right to touch your breast without your express permission. And if you are less than 16, even if you give permission within the laws of Ghana, it is wrong. Inappropriate touch is wrong. You're behind your breast, they doing things to you, asking you to do things to them. It is wrong. Don't tolerate it. Talk to grown-ups about it. Report them. We have a ministry of gender protection, and
thank you. These days, the name it doesn't stick to. It keeps changing.
So I don't know about whatever that ministry. There's a gender ministry and social protection, and these are the people you need to protect. So these things might not be taken lightly. We shouldn't make a joke about serious events. People have killed themselves because of the effects of abuse. They couldn't bear to live with themselves, with what had happened to them. They felt that they were nothing, that life was so painful, death was a better option for them. Maybe if someone had just listened to them, had held their hand, said, let's go, talk to this person, we'll do whatever we can to help you. Even if justice does not prevail, healing should.
Did you go through that phase? Did you ever think about suicide? Did it go through your mind? On that note, I'll take a break, we'll be back.
I'm a beneficiary of the Girl in Need Foundation. Some time ago, there was no hope for me to go to school, but through the Girl in Need Foundation, I was able to complete my secondary education.
I quite remember when we completed JHS, things became very, very tough. But with the help of God and the help of this foundation, which is the Girl in Need Child Foundation, now we are who we are today.
And this foundation has really helped me.
So I'm pleading with you that you help with any amount you have.
Please give something out. Donate at least 1 cedi for a girl. Will change one's life.
Remember, your 1 cedi can touch a life out there, can make impact in the life of somebody.
Welcome back. Well, we are supported by House of Foods Casaprecon Royal drinks, Awake Purified Mineral Water. I mean, when you buy any bottle, a single bottle of Awake Purified Mineral Water, they contribute a percentage to the National Cardiothoracic Fund. So you'll be drinking good water and then contributing to a good cause as well. Dream over per our website, www.thestandpoint.com.gh. www.thestandpoint.com.gh. We also say thank you to Yep Cleaning Services and Cake Technique and Daddy Cool Pastries. They support us as well. Now, Dr. Edwin, we live in a society where we like to think that some of these things are far away from us.
No, it's not.
It can happen to me. It can happen to my child.
Unfortunately, abuse doesn't only occur in the neighborhood, it occurs in schools. I've worked with children who were abused by the teachers, preschools. I mean, unfortunately, even our places of worship, church, the mosque. I mean, it's more present than we would like to admit. That is why we need to have protective measures in place. And parents need to teach children their safe spaces. We need to let our children know that there are certain parts of your body that nobody should touch. And any adult who does something and says that the secret is between the two of us, that is wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong. What is it that it's sacred? Let's build trust with your children. Whatever they need to talk to you, listen, because sometimes too, when our children want to talk to us and we are not ready to listen, then when they have real issues, they won't. So we are busy, but these are the children we have.
That's
so
what
make time
I was coming
for
to,
them.
yeah.
Listen to whatever they want to, because unless you build that trust, they won't confide in you. And when they come and tell you something that you are not even in favor with, don't express shock or contempt. Just listen, explore, especially with the teenagers. Let them earn your trust. Then they can talk to you about issues. I had a colleague who was a professional in mental health. Her daughter was abused by the house. I mean, when she found that she was so broken, and in her words, it's like, here am I working, dealing with other people's children. She was also working in the abuse area. And my own daughter has been abused in my own house. That can be tough to deal with. But she did see it, and she got help for the child. So
it's not only males who abuse the girls.
No. This was a house help who abused her daughter. Was using her fingers on the child. So sexual abuse is both ways. Boys are abused, girls are abused. There are several people who will tell you lots of young men were introduced to sex by their house helps.
Yeah.
That's abuse.
Yeah.
They were children.
Yeah.
The house helps were grown.
Yeah.
They used them for sex. That's abuse. So it's not just girls. In fact, the girls are better because society is more accepting and willing to talk about it. But when a boy goes to talk about it, I mean, first of all, it throws us. Is it done by a boy or by a girl? But it does happen. It does.
Let's get back to you. Do you think you can ever get totally over it?
In terms of the pain, I think that I've come a long way. I remember before we started, I said, don't let me cry on stage. I was like, what have I gotten myself into? So we've talked about it without me crying.
Yeah.
I've come a long way, and I'm grateful to God and for the help. And I want to publicly thank Dr. Arabasi for the day. I met this woman when I was in Lower 6 in Achimota, 1986. And she's been there. She's been there. She's been a mentor, and she's helped me through most difficult and challenging times. And for me, the last time we spoke, she made me aware that I've really come a long way. I made it.
You did.
I made it.
You did.
So
and we are grateful that you talk, because it's not just you who is going to get that relief and blessing for obeying, but there are other people watching who would also say, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't hate myself for this.
Yeah.
I shouldn't feel terrible for getting angry and still feeling the pain despite the years.
Yeah.
So if there's a person out there who's been through similar and is watching you, what have you got to tell?
please get help. It's okay to get help. In fact, you need to get help. You owe it to yourself, because if you don't, then that person is still, what's the word?
Holding you in bondage.
Yes, it's still hurting you.
Yeah.
The act may have stopped, but it affects. So you need to get help. And it's a long journey. Sometimes it's painful. At times you don't want to deal with it. You've had it. Sometimes you even think that, what's the point in living? After all, everybody is going to die and all of that. But when those thoughts come, speak to someone, a trusted friend, a therapist. Now there are so many clinical psychologists around. You can talk to, you can even start with your doctor, but just a call to one person. And there are hotlines. I don't know whether you have access there. Maybe you can put the hotlines there. But
Okay.
please, irrespective of your age, how long ago it is, talk to someone if you think you haven't dealt with it. If you've dealt with it and you are okay and you don't want to, that's fine. But I really think that it is worth talking about it. And your question, I don't know whether I would ever get to the point where I hear about abuse and it will make me angry, because abuse should make all of us angry. But I can deal with abuse without thinking about my own abuse, because I've come through it, and by God's grace, I'm there. I don't know whether I'm whole. Let me say I'm being made whole or I'm being healed. There's such a concept as a wounded healer, and that's how I see myself.
Yeah. A wounded healer.
The good thing with a wounded healer is that because they know, it's like a soldier in battle. When they've been wounded and they've recovered, or they are recovering, they are able to reach other wounded soldiers at a level that those who have not been on the war front will not be able to. So don't be ashamed of what happened to you. Use it as the stepping stone, use it as the bridge, use it to help other people, to empower people. And who knows, that might be the ministry that God has for you.
And for me, I say that Dr. Amma Chiwa Edwin, I'm no prophet, I'm no pastor, but I bet you this is another ministry that God is taking you into, or has taken you into. Because it's not easy to talk about abuse. For who you are and what you do and what you're known for, to publicly talk about it on national television, it's going to be on YouTube, it's going to be everywhere. But still talk about it. You are married, you have kids, you have a job, you are in charge of a school.
What's a school?
It's a college.
No, I work in a department.
A department. I say much respect. Thank you very much. Not everybody can do what you've done. I know this is not about you, but it's about others.
Yeah.
We go through things not just because of us, but so that we can empower and help others heal as well. Thank you so much. I love you plenty.
Me too, girl.
And to show our appreciation, we have a little package for you from Wilma Africa. We have their Phytol and they have the frying pan, we have cooking and a few things, and then we have some drinks from Casaprecon and some water for you, just to show our appreciation, to say that to do this, it is draining. Something has definitely left you. That thing that has left you, we can't replace it. It is only God. But we can give you water and drink. Go home, stretch your legs, relax, chill, and say, Amachiwa Edwin, it is so well.
Yes, it
because
is.
God has got me covered.
Amen.
God bless you.
You too, sweetheart.
Well, thank you so much for coming, student from King's Class SHS. You too, to say thank you. I have some packages for you as well. Okay, we'll be back with a bit of me.
Hello, beautiful people. I know you're all wondering why you're seeing two different people on the standpoint today. Yes, tonight we own the show. Me, myself, and King, but he wants me to call him Bliss. Tonight we are going to host Oheneyere Gifty Auntie.
How different is being married to a royal?
So does it
Before you
affect
react.
your Christian faith?
How did you know? What was that moment you realized this is the man I'll spend the rest of my life with? At this point, do you have a count on how many countries you have been to?
So during those times, were you in a relationship? Did it affect your work? People say women in the media are not fortunate when it comes to relationship. And is it true that it affected you? Another comment says, what do you regret most in life?
So Jack or JJ?
Hey. I know 2019 has just started and some of you are still in the festive mood. But pause for a moment. Let me shake your conscience a bit. You see, child abuse is so real and it's no respecter of person. Anybody can be a victim. Anybody's child can be a victim. And anybody can be a perpetrator. Yes, I say anybody can be a perpetrator. It doesn't matter who it is. That is the mother, the father, the stepfather, the uncle, the brother, the sister. It can be anybody. So please, don't let us joke with it. We had enough problems and too many incidents in 2018. In 2019, let's look out for each other. Because you know, the ripple effect of child abuse, you see, as a country, we can't handle it. We have people in authority who have become wicked, insensitive, all because of certain things they went through when they were little. Marriages are breaking down because of things that people suffered in their childhood and kept quiet over it, and really nobody listened to them. Thank God for knowledge. We are in the 21st century, the era of knowledge. We have come far as a country. Let's strengthen our laws. Let's give our people a voice. Let's give our children a voice. Let's look out for them. Aklebo White says something that as a people, as Ghanaians, unfortunately, we have become so insensitive that we devour the very things that we have to protect. The children that we have to protect, we are destroying their lives. You don't have to have a child of your own to be concerned about child abuse. Be a voice. Speak up. Fight for every child. As a teacher, as a church worker, wherever you see abuse being perpetrated, please speak up and protect the little ones. For they cannot fight for themselves. Parents, covering your shame does nothing for that child of yours who is being abused. So this thing about our family name, our family pride, you are killing your own child. And one day, your child will hold you responsible for not speaking up for her or for him. 2019, what are you going to do differently? As for me, I remain the woman with super crazy faith in God, but I know God has given us wisdom. Let's apply the wisdom. Let's be wise as serpents and look out for our children. Thanks for watching. See you same time next week. Until then, be each other's keeper. Be your children's protector and guardian. Be God's representative on earth in your child's life. Bye for now.